Story 1. Where technology and people overlap. Sales and customer-facing roles that require specific knowledge. Story 2. Technology support will never disappear because some people need help. I work with doctors who do not know how to use Zoom. Story 3. Embedded engineers are not going anywhere. No one wants cars or industrial machines that were vibe-coded. Artificial intelligence can write small bits of code, but it is not well equipped to handle the complexity of intercommunicating, real-time, safety-critical systems. Story 4. This is based on my company, my background as an Indian living abroad, and my experience doing remote work. Story 5. Database engineers have been in demand since 1960. The technology changes more slowly, so entering the field offers good long-term employment. Story 6. Work related to cloud computing, especially cloud networking, is in high demand and pays well when you know the ins and outs of Amazon Web Services, Azure, and other platforms. I had the opportunity to join the cloud networking team but turned it down because I saw how much work they do and how many operational and support issues they handle. Story 7. Surprisingly, although I work in data analytics and data science and thought artificial intelligence would certainly replace me, I am still here and feel safe. Story 8. Formal verification. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, artificial intelligence firms, and chip makers are heavily invested in it. Story 9. Data engineering. I have been in the field for a few years and have never had more interest from recruiters. I recently changed companies and negotiated a 50% salary increase. Companies are scrambling to build their data infrastructure for both artificial intelligence and competitive analytics. Someone has to work under the hood, connecting data sources and making the data usable. This field is not well known because it is not very visible. People often confuse it with data analysis or data science, but data engineering focuses on moving data from one place to another and making it integrate with target systems. Then analysts, scientists, and artificial intelligence agents can use what we build. I recommend this field to anyone interested in databases and logical systems. I do not have a computer science degree. I started as a data analyst and gradually gravitated toward data infrastructure. Story 10. Cybersecurity demand is about to be very high. Look at how sloppily every company in the world is implementing artificial intelligence. It is like trying to build a house with power tools you have never used before. I can, hypothetically, ask Copilot what my boss's address is, and it will tell me because human resources data is part of Copilot's dataset. Story 11. Anything related to the infrastructure of artificial intelligence. Plumbers, electricians, and welders. Some of these technology companies are offering high six-figure salaries right now. Story 12. Back-end systems written in common business-oriented language need experienced programmers desperately. Many legacy systems in finance, health insurance, and government programs run on common business-oriented language. Current programmers are retiring, and these systems are 50 years old and often undocumented. New programmers are not learning these languages because they are not new, exciting, or shiny, and no one is developing new systems on this technology. Getting entry-level experience in these jobs often feels impossible, and many organizations do not want to invest in training. Many companies also avoid spending the time, money, and risk required to update these systems because potential bugs could be catastrophic and these industries are heavily regulated. The programming language itself is not the main difficulty. The challenge is managing and updating extremely complex, poorly documented systems that rely on fragile workarounds. Story 13. Artificial intelligence integration. Someone who actually understands it and can implement it at a company level. Story 14. Forward-deployed engineers who are high-end and top-tier are 23 years old, earning $275,000 with significant equity, and companies such as Anthropic and Palantir are competing for them. Story 15. Cybersecurity, cloud, development and operations, data engineering, and applied artificial intelligence roles are still hiring, while many other technology jobs have stalled. Story 16. I work in web development, and if I had to guess, there will be a pretty penny for developers to clean up all the artificial intelligence slop in a couple of years. Story 17. We just had a leadership meeting about this with my college's leadership team. There is movement in investments toward physical artificial intelligence research and support. It may be a bit early, but based on memory, the numbers showed increased investment. I do not have the exact figures. The investment was smaller than for generative artificial intelligence research, but enough to prompt a pause. We reviewed nationwide investment trends, available hiring data, and interviews with community partners. Consider artificial intelligence, enhanced manufacturing tools, and robotics and automated processes. It is several years away, but autonomous vehicles and the mechanical support needed when they break down are likely areas of development. We used this information to project new programs over the next 5 to 10 years. I am not sure of current demand, but this is something I would monitor. Story 18. I work in industrial controls as a controls engineer. The field is in high demand, but few people are entering it. Many experienced workers are retiring after decades in the trade, and there are not enough people to replace them. I studied computer science and earned a Bachelor of Science degree, and I managed to land an initial role despite having little electrical experience at the time. If you are a fast learner and adaptable, you will perform a wide variety of tasks, including electrical design, troubleshooting, programming, human-machine interface design, wiring, and mechanical work such as tightening bolts. Story 19. Currently, the technology job market is being shaped heavily by artificial intelligence, data, security, and cloud-native technologies. Roles in artificial intelligence and machine learning, such as artificial intelligence engineer, machine learning specialist, and prompt engineer, are growing fastest across industries because companies are embedding these technologies into products and operations. Cybersecurity analysts and engineers are in high demand as threats increase and regulatory compliance becomes core business infrastructure. Cloud-related jobs, such as cloud engineer, development and operations specialist, and site reliability engineer, remain essential because almost every company runs services or workloads in Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud Platform. Data roles, including data engineer, data scientist, and data analyst, and full-stack or back-end developers remain in strong demand, especially when they support artificial intelligence and analytics pipelines. Early career feeder roles, such as junior software developer, quality assurance and automation specialist, and information technology support, also open pathways into these specialties. Story 20. Anything related to the data center. There are not enough people to match growth. Story 21. Not an exact match, but for a high school technology teacher, few schools offer a degree to teach that subject. Story 22. Yes, it is wild how many companies are outsourcing everything these days. They are just chasing lower costs, I guess. Story 23. It does not matter. By the time you transition your skill set into whatever is the new trend, it will already be outdated and you will need to pivot again. Be forward-thinking. Do something that few others can do. Story 24. Semiconductor manufacturing jobs include process integration, equipment engineering, and related roles. There is a major push to onshore production, and many experienced workers in these positions are nearing retirement. Story 25. Senior dipshit who crams large language models into everything, even though nobody wants them. Story 26. Computer numerical control programming on Mastercam pays around $35 per hour in my area. Story 27. Computational design and geometry are very niche focus areas typically occupied by architects, but much of the demand is in computing and software. It appears that many people studying these subjects, primarily architects, lack the software development background required to be effective where their efforts are most needed. Story 28. Governance, risk, and compliance. While artificial intelligence is helping to automate various tools for security control implementation and assessment, you still need humans to interpret the data, ensure that policies and governance are being implemented correctly, and double-check your artificial intelligence tools as well as your system administrators and information system security officers. This role is not entry-level, but it is still in demand. Determining what risks are or are not acceptable in your environment and whether your assistant chief information officer and chief information officers are willing to accept those risks is not something that artificial intelligence can do yet. Story 29. Graphics card and video random access memory repair specialists. With current costs skyrocketing, It may be less expensive to repair a graphics card than to purchase a new one. Story 30. Prompt engineer. Infrastructure engineers, especially those in roles focused on data compliance and data sovereignty. Story 31. Electronics technician, programmable logic controller programmer, electrician, electrical and electronics engineer, controls technician. Story 32. Look at the careers pages of any artificial intelligence company right now. They all seem to be hiring for every type of role. Story 33. All of them, but there is not much demand for entry-level jobs. Story 34. Field service engineers are always in demand. Many engineers thumb their noses at the role as not being real engineers, but you can ignore them. Story 35. Field technicians who handle hardware maintenance, troubleshooting, and replacements are in high demand. My organization has been hiring for years and still cannot find enough people. The downside is that pay is usually lower than in other technology jobs. Story 36. This is not strictly technology related, but I am having trouble finding qualified electrical engineers to hire. Story 37. Active Directory and security are valuable skill sets to have together. Professionals with these skills are highly employable and will not be replaced by artificial intelligence because networks can be too complex. Story 38. I was recently laid off, so I am back in the job market. I have noticed that many areas of cybersecurity remain in high demand, especially for experienced professionals. Story 39. Supply chain for hardware and construction adjacent sectors. A technical engineering background transitioning to sourcing would be highly valuable right now. There are many small, niche bottlenecks that most buyers do not understand, so an engineering background would add significant value. A path of technical engineering, followed by a prestigious Master of Business Administration and then a role as a sourcing manager or buyer subject matter expert would be a relatively straightforward transition. Story 40. Audio, visual, and security systems. Everyone wants a smart home like in the movies nowadays, with surveillance and monitoring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Story 41. Programming, coding, software engineering, and related work have largely become contracted out, outsourced, or eliminated through layoffs. What we actually need are computer plumbers. We need service technicians. Story 42. Almost anything other than being a code monkey. Today you have to know how to do things, not just how to write code in Python. Story 43. High-level telecommunications and data transport, including cloud services, data centers, utilities, and other related infrastructure. Story 44. I managed to get a job as a robotics engineer, so maybe that's it. Story 45. Even the jobs I see that are in demand would make it difficult for any new graduate or inexperienced person to get a foot in the door. Story 46. Many medium-sized businesses are looking for competent people with years of experience, leadership, and the ability to speak in depth who are willing to communicate with everyone in the company. Think clothing brands, automotive companies, logistics firms, and service businesses. They are hiring in-house and are unlikely to offshore work. Story 47. A cybersecurity specialist protects systems and data from attacks. Story 48. Aerospace remains in demand. I have worked at plating and manufacturing companies, and you usually need to be a United States citizen because of the international traffic in arms regulations and the export administration regulations, which makes it very difficult to outsource to another country. I have only seen this industry slow down twice. One slowdown was caused by the Boeing 737 MAX issues that halted production, and the other was the coronavirus disease 2019 lockdowns. At my current job, we have already gone through dozens of engineers in mechanical, electrical, manufacturing, quality, and industrial roles. Mechanical and electrical engineers are usually in demand, but it is becoming more difficult now. I had 3 interns who had been applying for over a year and could not land jobs. We hired 2 of those interns and they said the market was a bit tough, but once you are in it is pretty good. Story 49. Are we counting data and business analysts? If so, I do not have much experience yet, but I have a steady flow of recruiters contacting me. You need strong people skills nowadays. Story 50. A good user interface and user experience designer with actual front-end skills is still highly sought after. Artificial intelligence coding and offshoring are useful, but this role tends to be more resistant to automation and offshoring because it usually requires market and user understanding. Story 51. Data engineers and full-stack developers remain in demand across industries, large and small. Story 52. I started working at a company in 2024, and I am impressed by how in-demand mainframe engineers are. Story 53. Cybersecurity is important. Beyond that, programming positions supplement other engineering disciplines such as electrical, chemical, mechanical, and aerospace. The future of engineering belongs to people who have a working knowledge of programming in addition to their major. Story 54. According to the constant radio ads, cyber warriors or whatever they are trying to con people. Story 55. The most in-demand tech jobs currently are the ones closest to keeping systems running. Cloud infrastructure, security, data engineering, and anything that involves compliance or reliability. Flashy titles are saturated, but boring yet critical roles are not. Story 56. Boring infrastructure jobs still exist, with bonus points for a good handle on both on-premises and cloud environments. Many people in the last 10 years took development and operations boot camps, never touched physical hardware beyond their sticker-laden MacBooks, and only know a few infrastructure as code tricks. People with solid fundamentals are still in demand outside of startups. If you can glue physical and cloud compute Lego bricks together, there is work with companies that have not been convinced they can replace knowledgeable staff with offshore call centers or artificial intelligence. Hardcore developers who work on real-time systems, embedded devices, or operational technology are also in strong demand. These are the people who can shave a few microseconds off a financial trade or work with systems where failures can cause harm. Generic JavaScript developers did well during the inflation of the tech bubble from about 2012 to 2023, but are rapidly being replaced by vibe coding, which is good for systems engineers who have to clean up the resulting messes. Story 57. As a site reliability engineer and cloud infrastructure professional, I receive interview requests daily from reputable companies, and I recently turned down an offer from NVIDIA. It is a hard field to work in. There is some stress and a constant need to learn new technologies, along with whatever monitoring system is popular at the moment. You almost always work under managers who have little understanding and who rely entirely on you to keep systems afloat. Story 58. The software company I work for just laid off a number of United States employees and replaced them with people from India. You can hire 5 or 6 engineers in India for what you would pay for one engineer in the United States. The technology sector is struggling in general right now, and for most software companies, the primary way to save money is to reduce staff. This is happening across the industry and will not stop anytime soon. So I guess technology jobs are moving to India? Story 59. I will sell my body for any role at this point. Rent is coming due. Story 60. High-quality developers are rare. There is so much mediocrity out there. If you stand out in something, I have never heard of those people struggling. Story 61. Cybersecurity is probably one of the most secure technology jobs and will be hard to automate. Story 62. Product lifecycle management on the business side or on the information technology development side. Story 63. Web developer. The top high-paying technology job in 2026. Story 64. Cloud engineering and architecture are core to modern infrastructure, and companies need professionals who can design, run, and scale cloud systems on platforms such as Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud Platform. Story 65. I am currently looking for a network administrator in Utah with Fortinet expertise. Story 66. There are many layoffs happening everywhere, so I do not know. Story 67. Anything outside of the United States is being offshored because the World Economic Forum has made it a mandate to offshore jobs. As a result, Fortune 500 companies are structuring themselves to offshore and eliminate domestic jobs. I was working on outsourcing a process that did not save time or money and added complexity and risk. Management did not care. The mandate was to outsource, and that was all that mattered. Story 68. Decide which programming language you want to learn, purchase a programmable embedded development board, and connect and configure several peripherals. Story 69. Until humanoid robots are developed, basic production-level tasks that require complex movements and additional actions cannot be performed on the production line. Story 70. Cybersecurity roles always appear on the job board in my business, as do information technology roles that involve direct interaction with people, such as business analysts and application support staff. Story 71. Maintenance. Office personnel give me bovine stares when I try to explain anything, but things go wrong very quickly when I take a week of vacation. Technology requires a great deal of human babysitting to keep it running properly. Story 72. I work in information technology service management, and I am worried about my job security. Story 73. As a software engineer, I have been receiving many messages from recruiters over the past few weeks. New year, new budgets. Story 74. Surgical technician, radiology technician, or any medical technician position. Story 75. The technology market is seeking professionals who can manage data and protect information. The most sought-after professionals work in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and network systems management. Success requires not only knowing how to use software, but also the ability to transform technology into practical business solutions. The greatest value comes from people who combine a strong technical foundation with the ability to adapt quickly to continuously changing tools. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.